Hi everybody, welcome back for another video. Today I'm going to talk about something that's been on my mind a little bit. In some ways I've changed my mind about the idea of home defense and using less lethal defense. Not completely, but I'm also been thinking it through, and in my mind there is sort of this elephant in the room that we don't discuss. And I thought, let's talk about it in a video. Let's discuss this idea, and I'd like to hear what you think. It's you know, there's no black and white when it comes to decision making in your home here. You want to be safe, you want to make the right decision, you want to use the right amount of force. And a lot of states, we have the castle doctrine, so we can defend our home with lethal force. And in some cases, it doesn't even have to be a person who is coming in with an armed attacker. Just the very fact that they are breaching your home space or your car gives you the right to use lethal force to defend your space, because you don't know their intent. You don't know that they're not out to kill you or to cause, severe bodily harm, and you have a right to defend your space. And some states you have that ability in the United States, some places you don't. In other countries, you have zero rights to defend yourselves in those ways, inside or outside your home. So everybody's on a different scale. But I showed you a video at the beginning there. The guys they're going through using their 40 millimeter. They're shooting at people for the idea of clearing the streets. There was a curfew, had to get people out of the streets. And that's perfectly fine, but I want to show you what happened. So take a look here and just see what happened right there, what happened next, and then let's come back and talk about that.
Go home!
Okay, so there you see it. They shot back. Now, anytime you use less lethal defense in self-defense, and you put out there that you're using less lethal, the person on the other end may not initially in the initial seconds realize that you're using less lethal. They're going to hear a pop, and they may feel being hit, or they may not get hit. They may run away. It may not register with them that the sound was, decibels different than a firearm, even though they hear a pop. Inside of a house, it's even going to be even harder for them to tell the difference, especially if they're running away. They might think that they've been shot with a firearm. If you hit them in the right spot, they may actually think that they were shot. But once they've survived, and once they've run away, and in many cases what you want to do, your best case result is to run them away. They leave, they go home, they heal, they're not lethally injured, and they recover. But what really worries me, and what I think is sort of the elephant in the room that we don't talk about, is what happens if that person who knows where you live and who has been shot, and they know that you challenge them with a less lethal weapon. So in a criminal's mind, they're going to think to themselves, well, I was shot with a less lethal. I don't think that they have a lethal weapon in the house, so why don't I just get a lethal weapon and go back? And maybe that person has vengeance in their heart and in their mind, and they want to go back and get some retribution for being shot by you or being shot at by you. And so they go and they come back. So that worries me, because I don't want someone, I would hate to imagine such a scenario, and then there you are, and if you're a person who has chosen to only use less lethal weapon, and it's underpowered, and they come back with a firearm, the fight is not a fair fight. And let me show you another video. This is an example. The officer goes in, he's got a firearm, but he's also got his less lethal hanging. You can see his orange beanbag shotgun. And let's take a look at that and watch the officer's reactions, and you'll see what happens here.
Cody, you got camera out there while we do this? Go! Shots fired, shots fired.
Okay, so you can see right there exactly what happens when it's a less lethal tool, or essentially you haven't got anything drawn, or it's a surprising situation, and the guy unexpectedly pops out and starts firing his pistol. They're running, and it's not a fair fight. And so I don't want to ever over encourage people in terms of home defense to specifically rely on a launcher that shoots blunt projectiles and shoots them at a person that is not going to be, I don't want to kill someone, but I want that person to know if they survive, and whether you hit them or not, or you had to shoot, I want them to see a muzzle flash. I want them to hear a deafening firearm sound, and I want them to know that they will never return to this home. And I don't want someone to go away thinking that you were just with a hopper-fed pepper paintball, pop, 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 and they can tell. They go home and they think about it and they realize, well, you were just shooting paintballs at them, or that's what they think, even though it might have been Grimberg Joules at 50 joules, or it might have been something in between. But they're going to think paintball. They're going to think, well, this guy, the best they could do was come at me with a paintball gun. So I'm either going to grab my knife and go back, or I'm going to go back with a heavy coat, or I'm going to put some padding, or I'm going to do something, and I'm going to be ready for them next time. And so I really hate to see that kind of scenario play out. But I don't think it's unrealistic. I think criminals think that way, and I try to put myself in their mindset. And if I know that is a home that is potentially vulnerable, then I would target it. And I'm not a criminal, but I'm just trying to think from what I've heard and from what I've read, what they do target. I know they try to target nice neighborhoods. So if there's nice street, nice lawn, it looks like the people are at work a lot because they're busy, or they're business people. They may think, well, first of all, these people may not have guns, or they may not be interested in guns. They may not have the time to learn how to shoot and practice. They may not be interested. They may be of the political persuasion where they are not interested in a firearm. They may be from another nationality where it's not common. In large, big cities like where I live here in Atlanta, it's a very multicultural, international city. There's a lot of people from all over. It's not just Southerners here in Atlanta, especially within the city. It is a very multicultural society, and they, and it's very unfortunate, but a criminal will scope out and they will look for those homes where they think that this might be a vulnerable population of people who may or may not be able to defend themselves and may have zero weapons. But if they do go into a home and they're attacked by a paintball sounding gun and they get out, I think the first thing that person should do would be get some other weapon, get a firearm, or get some other type of security system or things like that. You can never be too safe when it comes to home defense, and that's why I wanted to show you these two examples, because in each case, the police were going in not really expecting to be shot at, and they get shot at. And if you're at home and you encounter someone who's just of the wrong mentality and they're out to get you, it's not a fair fight if you're just going at them with round balls. And I love the idea of using round balls, and I love the idea of using my VKS in and around the home. But I have to give it a second thought, and I want to get your feedback. I've had some people tell me that is really a dangerous thing to do. And even if I have my firearm close by, I think there's a risk associated with that, but I think I can transition very quickly, and I've videos how I would do that. But this is just one of those things. If someone comes to my window here, or I get an alert on my phone or from my security cameras telling me that there's someone outside in the perimeter, I have to make an immediate decision. What kind of tool am I going to grab? And if you have plenty of time, you can grab more than one tool. You can have something over your shoulder, you can put on your belt, you can have different options, and that's ideal situation. But if you don't have that security perimeter, or you may not have as many options, you got your one tool you need to grab. Just make sure that you use something that will send a message to that person not to come back. Now, if you hit them hard enough with a kinetic impact, I don't think they're going to want to mess with it again, but the reality is, no matter what kinetic impact projectile you use, if it's blunt and it's not a bullet and it's not penetrating, they will figure it out over time when they get back home, and if they survive. Now, granted, these less lethal weapons can kill. I was just reading an article where someone was shot with beanbag rounds, and just the chest wounds from the beanbags was enough to kill the person. They didn't die immediately, so that's the big difference between the less lethal and the lethal weapons. You can pepper a few people, put them to the ground with less lethal, but if that person has a firearm from the ground, they can still be shooting at you, and I've shown you videos where that's entirely possible. And that is still a very serious threat to you, and it's hard to defend against that. So I don't know how you do that. You'd have to either keep firing and hope for that headshot, and really, but it becomes a lot of shots, and there's a lot to consider there. So just some thoughts. Sometimes I think about these things, and this is something that's been on my mind. I don't want anyone to have to live with the worry of thinking that someone now might be coming back to get them because they suspect that they are a vulnerable target, even though you successfully defended yourself with a less lethal tool. So these come with pros and cons when you use them. When they don't work, obviously there's cons, but even when they work perfectly and you legally got out of the situation, and luckily there was no charges because you were in your home and you use less lethal force, but then in the back of your mind, how much are you going to worry about them coming back and trying to get some revenge on you? It's a concerning situation. So let me know what you think. I think this is more of one of those kind of topics where I'm putting it out there to see, are you worried? Are you not worried? Do you think that this is something to be concerned about? Is the legal advantages of the less lethal and the fact that you resolve the situation, is that more than enough good result to outweigh any of that bad result or the potential worries that might come along with it? Using a firearm also comes with equal amounts of worries on the good and bad side too. So there's no perfect resolution to any of these situations. And obviously, anytime someone comes to your home in any form and you have to make them leave, whether it's by force, verbal, calling the police on them, whichever route that you use, there's always a high stress and a period of time where you have to deal with the consequences. And so we just all want to be able to live with our consequences of the decisions that we make and feel that we're giving it the best, most thoughtful contemplation right now before the situation happens. So that now is the time to think about it. Think about your plan and think about your situation and your community and your home, and everybody stay safe. That's the main thing. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.